Hello, hello. Okay, my sound is working today. That is good. All right. Hi, Jim. Hello. Kui, I see Hiroyuki and Shao, Sam. I'm gonna get started in a minute. Let's wait for people finishing signing in, and we'll do a quick intro to the class. All right, I see Truk. Hi, Truk. And
hi, everyone.
Hi there. I see Aisha, and it's teaming up with somebody else. Isabella, hello. Arlene.
Hi there.
Hi there. Nice meeting you. We have a big class today. We're 20 people, which it's right at the maximum allowed. All right, I see. This class is evenly divided between members of Patient Turnbull and HWI architects. So we're gonna do some introductions. I'm gonna start with myself, and then we'll do a quick break, ice break, and get started with an explanation of the syllabus, the recording, the data sets. All right. So are most of you guys familiar with Zoom? You know how it works? Zoom has a menu that is called reactions. So I think you have the ability there to add an icon, for example, thumbs ups. I just put my thumbs up there. It also has an ability to raise your hand. And when you raise a hand, I'm going to be watching at the participant list and see if you're asking for an opportunity to ask a question or share your work or ask me to repeat anything. Again, the reaction allows you to lower the hands. You can also the Zoom menu also give you access to the chat panel. And the chat panel, it should be floating adjacent to the Zoom meeting. You can also ask me questions in the chat panel. But honestly, when it comes to the classes, I really don't mind if you unmute yourself and interrupt me. That's what we're all here for. We want to learn Revit, and sometimes to understand capability in Revit, I have to present you with a long string of action chain, and it's very easy to miss a step in a sequence. And I definitely want you to interrupt me if you need me to repeat an instruction or go deeper in explaining a capability or a question in general. This is your class. This is your learning. And some of you are technology comes very easy, and for others it may be very difficult. So I'm going to try to keep a balance between not making the classes too fast to follow, but also not too slow, so that I bore you guys. So that's my compromise. All right, so I think I have 17 people in the call. Let's get started. So before doing anything, these classes are offered to you by Oxman College as a result of grants provided by the state of California, which provide higher educational high-tech opportunities to small, medium-sized firms that need or want to have leverage in the use of software resources that otherwise would be difficult to be on reach. And so the classes come to you for free. The state is who pay us. And we get paid by the number of times you sign into the Zoom call. And so it's important for us to report the attendance. I'm going to show shortly how to fill the attendance. These classes are getting recorded, and life happens. I've been an architect. I am an architect, and I know how it goes. Sometimes work is on its way, and you can't make it to the class, or you have a personal issue or matter to attend, or you have to schedule vacation. That's fine. These classes are going to be recorded and streamed live in the Oxman College YouTube channel. And as such, the classes, I usually get them recorded after I do the announcements so that I capture the technical part of the lecture. But sometimes if you can attend, please, I encourage you to watch the recording. If the class is streamed live, so what that means is that as soon as I hit stop recording, it will be immediately available in the YouTube channel. And so that's a learning resource for you. You can, I'm going to share those links shortly so you can save them in your browser and retrieve them as you please. Now, sometimes, well, before I move forward, I also have to say that this, as a result of this live stream, I may call your name. I definitely don't stream the Zoom um, the Zoom list of participants, but I may have to call your name in the middle of a class, or your name may appear as a result of sharing a screen. And so I just want to put it out there that if you sign here, you are as a waiver. You are in an agreement that your name may be called out at a publicly accessed YouTube channel. So if you have a problem with that, please let me know, and I can work with you as a way to find that balance. Okay, let's see. I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'm going to initiate the record. Let's do as a form of ice break. Let's do this quick exercise on a mural. It's called what city are you from? And I don't know if you're familiar with Mural. Mural, it's share virtual whiteboard that is I'm going to share with you shortly in the chat panel a link. And so if you have never used Mural, it's very easy. You just zoom in and out with the mouse wheel. And then you click the space bar to pan and zoom, and then you just use this to zoom. And what I'm going to ask you is grab one of these. When you open the link, go ahead and grab one of these labels on the left panel. Select it. You can Control V to copy to the clipboard. Control C, Control V, Control C, Control V. I'm going to do mine here. See this menu allow you to the right-click menu allow you to move these labels around. And I'm just going to grab these and put the pointer to where I'm from. So my name is Cesar Escalante. And I am originally from San Salvador, El Salvador. I came to the United States on a scholarship to study architecture. And after graduating in Austin, Texas, I flew into the Bay Area where I have been for the past 20 years. I'm a registered architect. I have worked in the past as a practitioner. So I was a project architect in my first half of my career. And then I turned into technology management. I was a BIM manager for big corporate firms in the past, including Flat Architects, HOK, and Gensler San Francisco. And in 2020, I joined Autodesk as a technical marketing manager, where my role is to align the marketing message from the Revit product team. And I'm the person who coordinates the messaging about new features on social media and create tutorials for sales enablement. And on the side, I teach at Oxman. I also teach at CCA and Revit workshop, which is also starting this week. And that's a little bit about myself. So I've been using Revit for the past 15 years. But even so, I don't think I know everything that's needed to know about Revit. Sometimes one of you may share a nugget of wisdom that I may not know, and that's totally fine. We're here to, to share what we know. I'm here to share what I know. And this is an intermediate class on Revit. So I assume that a lot of you had experience with the software, working experience. I recognize some names here from the fall class with patient Turnbull and let's do that. Let's. I'm going to share this link with you. I'm pasting it on the chat panel. So when you see this, just click on that. And I'm going to give, I don't know, 5 minutes to do this. Remember the shortcut, you can zoom in and out using the mouse click. You can click the space bar to pan. And Control C, copy to the clipboard, Control V will paste it. So let me know if you were able to log in.
Did you say Lindsay or who was it that you're having do this?
I just paste the link in the chat panel, and everyone's expected to log in right now.
Are we supposed to create our own? Because it's asking me to create.
Oh, does it ask you to create an account?
Yes.
If you never, let's see if, which is, yeah, I think it's going to ask you to create an account. Let me try this. I'm gonna copy this and paste. I'm gonna paste another one, and let me see. Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, if you've never used a mural, it will ask you for your name and an email, and yes, you have to create an account. But mural is awesome. Mural is used a lot by architectural firms to do design review remotely. And it's free for up to a certain size of panels. Let me know if you have questions or need help. Cool. So we'll have people from a lot of different backgrounds.
Co, are you lost? You don't know where to go?
I love
Yeah,
it.
I don't know how to put that little location thing.
You grab, I think you grab one of these labels on the left, press it with a mouse and just drag it out.
Okay, let me. I don't see those locations though.
If you zoom out using the mouse wheel, you should see a stack of labels on the left side.
Try clicking the first link. That's where the map is. And I think the second link is like the sign up.
Oh,
Oh, let me see. Oh, maybe that's the problem.
all right. Does anybody else need help? Any question?
Sorry, I still have trouble finding that. I don't see the all the locations.
Do you see the map? This map?
I do see the map. Yes. Oh, oh wait, I see. I can. Oh, I think I zoomed out. Yeah, yeah. I saw it.
To pan over, you press the space bar, the keyboard space bar, and it's going to allow you like to move the map and
Yes.
scroll
Sorry.
it.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's get moving. I'm going to call your name based on the participants list. If you can tell me what city you're from originally, what company you work for, what your role is, and maybe the years of experience you have with Revit. Let's start with Ko Chow.
Hi, Cesar.
Hi there.
So originally from Saigon, Vietnam. So all the way down there.
That's awesome.
How many years of Revit? I would say probably four or five. You're optimistic.
And your role?
A project architect at Hornberger Westel.
Okay, awesome. Welcome to the class.
Thank you.
Next one, I have Kiaor Ma.
Yes. Char Ma.
Char.
I'm a designer from Hornberger Westel. Probably worked on a Revit platform for maybe like 2 years. I'm originally from China, northeast part of China, a city called Anshan.
Nice. And how long you been in the States?
I've been here for 7 years or so. Yeah. And I've,
Okay.
yeah.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next one here is Arlene Banducci.
Hi there. I am actually from the Philippines, Manila. I was born there, but grew up in good old Sacramento, California. I've been zooming in and out of Revit for about 2-3 years. I've only been doing peripheral of it. So I mostly work on the construction administration portion of architecture. And now I'm just getting into more of the construction and the design of the buildings.
Okay. Well, welcome to class, Arlene. Glad to hear you have some experience. Let's see, Aisha Sawatsky.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. Hi, I'm Aisha. I'm originally from a lot of places. I moved a lot, but most recently I moved from London, Ontario, Canada, which is in the Great Lakes area. I've been in the Bay Area for coming up on 2 years now, about that long with Page and Turnbull as well, and I'm a designer. I've probably been using Revit for 2 years consistently, but before then taken a lot of ad hoc classes that didn't really sink in. So excited to learn something more legitimately this time.
Okay. Well, that's what you're here for. Welcome to the class, Aisha.
Thank you.
Next in my list here is Darren.
Hi, I'm Darren, and I'm originally from Hong Kong. It's my first year with Page and Turnbull, and it's also actually my first year using Revit. I've also attended your class in fall.
Yes.
So yeah, excited to continue learning more about Revit.
Awesome. Have you had a chance to use it like after the class?
Yeah, I've been using it all along the time, yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome back, Darren.
Yeah, thanks.
Next one is Hiroyuki. And Hiroyuki, you're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Hiroyuki, and I'm from Kyoto, Japan. And about the usage of Revit is between 8 and 9 years. And my role is depends on the project, mainly designer, sometimes project architect.
Okay. Wow, you have extensive experience. You can teach this class.
Yeah, but
so,
mainly I used interior side, so I want to learn something more exterior side.
okay. Obviously, for those who are very seated in some of these topics, might be a review. Maybe you discover something new in the discussion. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Good thing that Zoom takes you immediately back after it crashes. So let me share this again. All right, so I was in the middle of speaking with Hiroyuki, and welcome to the class, Hiroyuki. Okay, see my list of participants. Isabella, I recognize you, Isabella. But
Hi there. I'm a student from the fall class, and let's see, I think I have less than a year experience, but about 6 months, very, very intense class that I took 4 or 5 years ago at UC Berkeley. and I fell in love with Revit. And then I haven't had a chance to use it much until maybe a few months ago. So I'm very excited to get really good at it.
And where are you from originally?
Oh, I'm from Lviv, Ukraine.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Jim Degener.
Yes. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I've been sort of in the architecture world for about 40 plus years. I learned how to draw first. I drew everything by hand. Then got dragged kicking and screaming into computer generated stuff at SOM on their own system. Then they switched to AutoCAD, so I had to learn that. So this is the fourth time I've had to relearn my profession. So, and I've been in and out of Revit occasionally, but never long enough to really get my groove. So here I am.
Okay. Oh, welcome. Yeah, it's the waves of technology comes and go. Who knows how long the Revit wave is going to last? But hopefully I'll be retired by the time it goes, because that's all I do, Revit. All right, welcome, Jim. Next one, I have Catherine Scott.
Hi, I'm originally from Owego, New York. I've been using Revit for about 5 years, I think. I took a intro class about 4 years ago, maybe a little more than intro, but my position is a designer at Page and Turnbull.
Awesome. Welcome, Catherine.
Thanks.
Lindsay Noble.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Noble. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. Been doing Revit for about 16 years.
Wow.
I'm the BIM specialist at HWI, Berger Worstel, and do visualization and sort of assist the staff in their adventure into Revit.
Awesome. Welcome, Lindsay. So with somebody of your experience on the side, you're making me nervous. No, we can complement, when it comes to workflows about tips and tricks and best practices. Obviously, I'm biased towards the types of workflow and practices that were exposed during my practice, but the class can be enriched by the discussions that on ways in which you guys set up things, in particular when it's calibrated to specific practice. So welcome, Lindsay.
Yeah, and you said it right, that can't know everything. Someone else might know something you don't know. So that's sort of why I'm here.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, next in my list is Lydia Kontosoglu. Let me know if I didn't pronounce that.
Oh, that's great. Hi, everyone. My name is Lydia Kontosoglu. I'm originally from Greece.
I already have some. I wasn't about to do this without some. Hope I'm on mute.
I'm a designer with Page and Turnbull, and I have 4 to 5 years Revit experience. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome, Lydia. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next in my list is Sam Pirapenki.
Hi, this is Sam, originally from India. Came here in '91 and in this field about 30 plus years, and using the Revit maybe like 8-9 years. Started with the 2016 version. Yeah, still trying to know everything. Thank
Cool.
you.
Welcome, Sam. Again, seated Revit user. Welcome as well. Welcome your comments in the discussion of the class. Next in my list is Tara. Welcome, Tara.
Hello, Tara Ogle. I'm lived up and down the West Coast from Ashland, Oregon, at the point when I was born. I am the director of the architecture studio at Page and Turnbull. Have been using Revit for, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 12 years. Initially in a production capacity, but that has definitely shifted over the years to the point where now I really just need to know what is possible, and enough to not get myself in trouble, but and enough to make sure that we have the right tools and support for the team. So
That's awesome. I think one of the great things about your background is that you come from a technical background that understood what it takes to assemble something in Revit, and that certainly gives a much better outlook on how to prepare for resources as you lead your group. So
that's the goal.
Yeah. So hopefully some of this is a refresher or maybe an eye opener. So we'll see. Welcome. And then I think I'm only missing Anna Grun.
Hi, Cesar. I was in your first class. I'm from San Jose originally, but I've been living in Hawaii for 35 years. I just moved back to San Francisco and I work with Page and Turnbull. And I used Revit when it first came out a long time ago. And I worked for about a couple of years then, but I haven't worked for a long time. So that's why I wanted to get back into it. So I know I could help and make some changes on projects. I don't do a lot of drafting, but that way, if there's things that can be done or I can do in Revit, I want to just be helpful and be knowledgeable and help my team.
Awesome. Thanks, Anne. Anna was with me in a previous class, and she helped secure this class for Page and Turnbull. So thank you. Thank you, Anna. Oh, Truk is also, I think, in my list too. Truk, Nguyen.
Hey, so grew up in Tucson, Arizona, and I have 4 to 5 years of Revit experience, and I'm a designer at Page and Turnbull.
Awesome, thank you, Truk. Did I miss anyone? I think I got everyone. All right, so look at this awesome landscape of people with different backgrounds. I love when there's so much diversity in our class and ways to enrich the conversation. So again, this is your class. Feel free to, I'll give you a biased opinion on what my view is on best practices and best workflows. So, but at the end, I want to make sure that you do a good job using Revit on your own practice. And so I'm open-minded to be corrected if I'm not saying something that's appropriate to the way you put together things. All right, let's go quickly at looking at the syllabus. Let's also look at the sign-in sheet. When you receive this invite via Zoom, you will have these 4 links available to you in the invite. I encourage you to open each of them and save it in your browser. Or it's always going to be here. The attendance sheet is one of them, and it's important that we fill this correctly. At the start of every class, I'm going to ask you to add your initials. So I see some people came here and put an X. We prefer you to put your initials. And this is just a visual confirmation that you attended that class. I have your name and your email. And if you also need me to communicate with you using an alternate email, either a personal or maybe a second job, feel free to add it there. In particular, you know, some people likes to keep this class like on separate tracks, maybe under their own private communications. So I'm all open about that. So if you add your email, I'm also going to add that alternate email in the distribution list. All right, the other thing is this class is going to be Monday and Thursdays from 5:30 to 8:30. That's nominal. The class consists of a lecture that lasts about an hour, 15, an hour and 30 minutes. The way I teach is that I provide a data set that is used by the class, and we all follow along at the same time. I provide instructions. A link to the data sets is provided at the start of a class, and you've been also provided with a link on that data sets in the invite. So the invite has a link to the syllabus, a link to the data sets, and a link to the recordings are. So if you are wondering where the recording is, just open the invitation, click on that link, and that's going to take you to the Osman YouTube channel. This is how the YouTube channel is. One thing I have to do after video is posted is to group it under a playlist. So there are different playlists for different versions of the course. So I haven't created a list for a playlist for the spring 2023, but that's going to be right at the top here. The easy way to sort videos, if you click the videos here and then sort it, it's sorted automatically by recently uploaded. And so then I name the class after the date, and I'm going to call it a Revit Intermediate. And then every week I'm going to try to add it into the playlist. But if you don't find it into the playlist, just go into the videos and look at the recently uploaded tab, and this is going to be sorted by the day in which it was broadcasted. Okay, another thing is whoever calls in first to the Zoom call is going to start the recording. And so try not to call like 30 minutes earlier. Then I don't want to be editing the videos to take, you know, the front end empty portions of yourself in the Zoom call. So yeah, you can call in like 5 minutes before the class, and I'm usually like on time to get started. But the recordings are always going to get started the moment the first caller starts. This is the attendance sheets. Let's review the length of the classes. This is the intermediate class, usually lasts 6 weeks, meeting twice a week. So that's 12 classes. And then I'm offering also an extra day that is acting as a buffer of a topic that I missed expanding on, or a day in which we can focus on specific questions that are specific to the way you do things at your office. So I'm leaving that as an open buffer class. An announcement: next week there's no class. I'm traveling to Boston for a training event from Tuesday to Friday, but I'll be on a plane on Monday, so I won't be able to call in. So no class. And then I don't expect to miss any other class. In the event something happens, I get sick or have to attend an emergency, I'm usually going to send an email in advance cancellation, and that means that I have to come up with another class to take for that missing class. Again, we encourage you to attend every class. The goal is to have you attend at least 80% of all the classes to be considered like officially graduated. The school can offer you with certificates. In the past, some people find value to the certificate. And if everyone wants to have a certificate at the end of the class, then I can ping Lana to provide it, and she will mail it to your respective homes. At the end of the course, I'll print this in PDF. Your initials act as a signature that you attended the class, and the state will get a final copy. All right, any question about these? Is anybody having any difficulty logging in? I should have shared with you an open link to edit. So, all right, so I see that Lindsay and Anna added alternate emails. I'm going to include these emails in the invite starting next class. All right, let's go through the syllabus. This is the Revit 2023, and I asked initially to have Revit 2023 installed in your workstations. Is that the case for HWI? I received an email, I think from Sam, that the software was an issue. Can you confirm where you guys are at with that?
I got 2023, but still there are a few still on 2022. So maybe next class we might get in.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have 2022, so tomorrow I should be able to get the new one in.
Awesome. Yeah, I anticipated that some of you might not have the software in time, so for the data set of the exercise today, I provided in 22, but I think after this week, it'll be difficult to provide it. Well, I cannot save down data sets to 22. I just happen to have a copy from our previous class. So let's give us another week to secure the software. And then starting February 8th, February 13th, then the data sets are going to be in 2023. All right, so this is my email. Feel free to email me for any question you have at any point. I, like yourself, I have a daytime job, and I may be slow in responding, but I always respond at some point. This course lasts 6 weeks, 5:30 to 8:30. I'm going to deliver a lecture from 5:30 to like 7:15. And then after 7:15, if you fall behind or if you're in the middle of an exercise that remain unfinished, if you have questions that you need support, then that's our, let's call it lab period. And if you did a good job and stay along with the instructions and want to disconnect, feel free to disconnect at that point. So the time between 7:15 and 8:30 is really to provide a one-on-one type of support on that day exercise. If Revit behaves in a way, in an unexpected way, and you want to share your screen with me, then that will be the time in which we do that. So at that time, the recording stops, the streamline also stops, and then the lab period is just there for me to help you. And if anyone is okay and there's no further questions, then I'll close the session. All right. So this is Revit 23 running on Windows 10. That's what I have. Is anyone here using Macs or Parallels? You can just.
I am.
And is it running well?
Yes, no problem.
Okay. Then let's go over the schedule. So today I had on the list of things is the intro and the phasing and design options. I'm probably going to fall short and just going to show a discussion about the phasing, and then the design options. I'll cover it in the next class. Then class number 2 on Thursday, it's about parameters, types of parameters, instance type properties, and then how to use parameters to create calculations. So I think on the fundamentals class last year, I included a discussion of what a share parameter was and when it's useful to utilize it. But this time around, I'm going to include a discussion on how you can apply share parameters to run calculations and formulas. And so we'll use some calculated values in schedules to generate a code analysis sheet in an area plan. I don't think I covered this topic in the beginners class. Next week, there's no class. Then class number 3 on the 13th, we reconvene and talk about share coordinates and site design tools. It's a big topic. It's not often offered at the beginners level. So I'm going to talk about the process of enabling shared coordinates and anchoring sub-consultants files using the same anchor point, the different type of points, and how to make sure that both your AutoCAD consultants and your Revit consultants have the same insertion points. Class number 4, it's more about topography and site design. This is often overlooked in the design of models in Revit, how to recreate a topography, different methods of creating a topography, and out of the box design tools. This is going to be a big announcements in Revit 2024, as the design tools are going to be greatly expanded. I can't get into details, but I just think those who work in landscape design or site will be very happy with the new features. Then class 5 and class 6 is more about documenting your deliverables. Last class, we didn't talk much about keynotes, and then the different methods of creating keynotes. You can use them as element keynotes, material keynotes, but they be custom, and how you connect keynotes with a database, and how you edit the database, and some plugins that can help you expedite your annotation process. On the 23rd is about BIM management. These are what is the baseline of solid BIM documentation, BIM standards documentation. So we're going to talk about the PXP, the project execution plan, the importance of it, what are the typical content of a BIM execution plan, what is LOD matrix, why it's important to understand LOD matrices, and how to build robust templates, elements of a Revit template, and some examples. Again, for those of you who do technology management, this is probably very calibrated to your practice, but I'm going to just discuss common topics that we should not overlook when managing tools and processes inside projects. Class number 7 is about revision and revision controls. And this is mostly for those who do assemble packages and create revisions to during the construction administrations, and ways to associate revision cloud parameters with information and extract and create those narratives for different revisions. We didn't cover much of that in the first class. Class 8 and 9, it's about understanding Revit on the cloud. And I don't know the extent in which both firms have access to BIM Collaborate Pro, but I'm gonna provide temporary licenses for a couple of weeks to understand the design collaboration module, which enable teams to work in a central file that is hosted on the cloud. This was offered in the beginners class, but there were topics that I couldn't address, in particular, how you use the advanced features of design collaboration, how you create packages, consume them, and distribute them across consultants and the permissions. What we did on the beginners class was a very quick review. I'm going to go a little deeper this time around, and also review the coordination, 3D coordination, and issues for Revit. So these two classes, we're all going to tap into a share project that you get invited, and we go into the process of working on the cloud. And then the rest of the classes is all about creating custom content. And this, we did a little family creation the first class, but these are more advanced examples. One is like creating a custom railing from scratch that can be associated with stairs. We're also going to discuss advanced ways of represent curtain walls and create a custom panel. And then the last is about adaptive components for conceptual design. And then an extra class that I'm proposing to review Dynamo or generative design. Dynamo, it's visual scripting that allows you to access the Revit API and generate routines for automations. And generative design, it's a tool that allows us to optimize a design and create multiple design options based on a set of variables, inputs and outputs that you can control. And those are going to be our 12 classes. So any question about the content? And is there any topic that you would like to see covered? Then I could definitely make some flexibility in that last day. So feel free to email me or send me your comments. Okay, are we all good? All right, so the next half an hour, we're going to discuss design options and and phasing. For some of you, this must be a review, so bear with me. For those who are not that familiar with the concept of design phasing, you have been granted access to the Oxman Revit Intermediate Drive, Google Drive. The link, it's on your invite, Zoom invite. And but I'm going to also share it here. I'm going to share this this link, and I'm going to paste it in the chat panel. So feel free to copy and download these files on your computer. You can create a dedicated folder on your workstation that you place these files consistently. Right now, some of these folders are empty, so I'm going to populate in as I get closer to the date. And so download these data sets. One of the things I'm going to do differently this time around is that you're going to find inside the folder the set of Revit files, and then you're going to see one is called instructor. So I'm going to be working directly on Google Drive. So every file I create and that you're going to see on the screen is going to be pulled from this instructor folder. You don't need this folder to work yourself. But if your Revit session crashes, or if you get stuck and you want to like skip a step and you just want to catch up with my file, then go ahead and open the structural folder, copy the file and paste it in your workstation. And then at the end of the class, you're going to get my files. So you can always compare the exercise you develop in class against the exercise that I use, and understand why where you got stopped, or how can you compare your work with my work. And so this is the files I'm working. I'm providing them as a resource to you as well, available at any point during the class.
Cesar, sorry to bother you. Are we supposed to download all of these now?
Yes.
Okay.
Download all these files. We are going to use the files that's called existing options, phase 1, phase 2, all the Revit files. And there is a PDF with a summary of the deck that I'm presenting to you, so you don't have to take notes. The PowerPoint, it's there for your reference as well. All right, so let's. Any other questions about these files? All right, so let's talk about I wanted to, some of you were in my class the first time last semester, but for those who I'm teaching for the first time, let's review very quickly some nomenclature on Revit. So I'm going to do a one-on-one that's going very quickly so that you get familiar on areas of the user interface. How are they called out? Because when I give instructions, I'm going to be signaling some areas in the user interface. And even though you have used Revit for many years, I want us to get it in sync where to look when I do some instructions. And so you don't have to do anything here. I just pay attention. I'm going to open a sample file that ships with Revit. And I'm going to very quickly just discuss the user interface. This is a file that ships with Revit. It's called the Project Golden Nugget. And this is an actual project designed by a firm and placed in Germany. It was included in the out-of-the-box files for the past 3 years. And it's nice because it has a sample file that displays different ways of setting Revit sheets and details and ways to present information graphically and in 2 dimensions. And so Revit is it's a tool that delivers project in BIM. BIM stands for Building Information Modeling, and it's a physical representation of a building in a virtual space. It's not only a geometrical representation of project, but it's also full of information that is useful to communicate not only how something is assembled, but information about the element itself. And so this is a project, and it's in German, unfortunately, but it's nice to look at because it's an infill project in an urban setting. It's great to make discussions about how to create renovations. Shift and pressing the mouse wheel allow you to like rotate the model along its geometrical center. And I just wanted to remind you of some of the parts of the user interface that I'm going to be calling out very frequently. This is the quick access bar. So remember that, quick access bar. So when I say look at the quick access bar, it's the upper left side. I also want you to look at this set of tools. These are ways to change and modify the actual view. These are the view controls. And when I say directions, look at the view controls, and then the lower left side of the user interface. And these are ways to change the graphical properties of the elements you see on the screen. Project browser and the properties. The project browser, the property window has a drop-down menu that it's called the type selector. So another thing to remember, type selector. And the type selector is a way to change the type of something on the screen by another type. And so when you click the type selector, you can see a drop-down menu of elements loaded in the projects that belongs to the same category of objects. So type selector is always in the property window. If the property window is closed, the best way to get it back is to type PP. repeat project parameters in PP. That brings it back. You should have two screens. In one screen, you can have the Zoom call, and another screen, you can have Revit. Sometimes I have these property windows sitting in a stack form, but you might as well just have it like one panel on the right, another panel to the left. And all you do is grab the property windows from its window head and then drop it. You can drop it as an alternate tab, or you can drop it as a stack window. It's a little subtle, this movement, but we are always going to be looking at the properties and the project browser. So the project browser lists the structure of the views in the project, both graphical and non-graphical. It has sheets, schedule, families, and groups. The project browser, if you close it, you can open it via right-click, browser, project browser. Okay, and then this is the filter tool. I'm going to be calling that a lot. So look at the filter. The filter allows you to disclose the number of elements you have selected in the screen. So if I do a window selection, the filter lists the number of elements in your screen. You also see the same information here. And then this part here, the lower left side, discloses information about the commands and the selections. And when you hover over an element in Revit, I need to enable the, give me a second, I need to enable the help file. When you hover over an object, it's going to disclose three pieces of information. The first piece of information separated by colon is the category. The second one is the family name. And the third one is the type, right? So you all know how Revit, you know how this works. If you want to very quickly identify the family, it's the middle of the three-tier pieces of information. Sometimes you have subcategories here as well. Like this roof has a subcategory or subtype called R5. It's not that frequent, but sometimes you find it. So category, family, type, subtype. This floor, for example, the type name of this floor, it's Overton 200. The subtype is R0. This wall, the name of the family type, it's Overton STV, etc. All right. So any question here? That was Revit 101. Other things related to parameters. When you select an object on the screen, the properties of that element are displayed in the property windows. All the properties, the parameters that you see in the property windows are called instance parameters. All of these are instance parameter. These are parameters that are unique to the object. And when you change these parameters, it's just going to affect that particular object. And then these other button here, these are called the type parameter. This edit type button that appears when you select an object give you access to the type properties. So sometimes I'm going to say open the type properties. That what I'm telling you to do is to select an object, select an object, and then hit the edit type. And this is going to open the type properties. And the type properties are parameters that are common to all the elements belonging to the type. In this example, this is a floor. The name of the type is overtone 200. If I change properties here, I'm changing it to all the floor of that type across the entire project. And so it's an easy way to update thicknesses and textures and materials associated with types. But it's also dangerous because if you change it here, you change it all across. So you must be clear that if you want to have unique values, it's best to duplicate the type, rename it, and change parameter values. That was in my Revit 101 class. I'm just reminding you that to create new types, you duplicate, rename, and base parameter values. Some of the families are loadable families, and some families are system families. A loadable family is a family that you bring from a library of components. There's when you go to the Insert tab and look at the Load Autodesk family, this gives you access to the cloud-based library of components, which should be, I don't see loading, so I'm not sure what happened here. And then, or you can just load family and it will display the out-of-the-box library. As users of your own company, Revit, you probably have different locations of your library of components. Those settings are under the options. So system families, and again, this is a review for a lot of you. System families are families that are living inside a project. They don't, you cannot save it as an external file. And system families are usually families with a large surface, custom surface. So system family, example of system families are floors, roof, ceilings, topo surface, topography, and walls. So these families, you cannot share it as an independent file, but you have to copy paste them between projects in order to share it. And then component families are families that you load from a library of components. Components are files with the extension RFA, which stands for Revit Family. An example of those are doors, windows, light fixtures, mechanical equipment, plumbing equipment, anything that is unitized and fabricated outside of the project, it's typically a component. And so system families are usually created by a set of boundaries that are called sketch lines, just this purple line that appears when you edit something. I'm going to select this floor, I'm going to edit the boundary, and you can see a collection of sketch lines that define the outermost boundary of the geometry. And those sketch lines are created using the contextual tab. A contextual tab is a tab that enabled me to create and edit sketch lines. And I did and repeated this a lot in Revit 101, that the rules of sketch mode is that sketch needs to be in a closed loop, and you should not have any overlapping segments, and that the corners needs to be closed. And if that doesn't happen, say for example, there's a gap here, this is not a closed boundary, Revit gets angry and it's asking you to continue editing. So you have to fix this for Revit to be able to complete the creation of a system family. You always get accept the sketch mode when you click this green arrow, and then you're done. All right, those are Revit 101 concepts. I just wanted to mention it before I started doing an exercise. Any question? All right, so I'm going to close this file, this golden nugget. By the way, you have access to this file. It's used as a learning typical a learning file. You see this is a three-dimensional detail, very nicely put together. A three-dimensional column, a three-dimensional steel connection. All of this is made in 3D objects, and some perspective and stairs. All right, so I provide you a link with the data sets. Hopefully everybody download it, install it in a folder in your workstation. I'm going to be working in the Google Drive, my local Google Drive.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a vast array of quality in system families that you can drop into your project? Or is it pretty safe to just get anything that's being offered?
So the typical standard system families that you use in your project, more than a graphical thing, like the internal properties needs to be properly configured to schedule the way you put your schedule together. And so sometimes it's not a good idea like to borrow wall types from firms from a different firm or from a different practice, because the embedded information is not aligned with the way you build your own schedules and specifications. And so one of the first exercises when implementing Revit is to make sure that you build your own system family standards. And the way that works is a lot of firms build something, a file that is called a type. It's a type container, which is nothing but a Revit file with, I don't know, with the 60 company vetted wall types, for example. And that file resides somewhere in your network as a read-only file. And your templates may have maybe a subsample of all the potential wall types, maybe like the 10 most used partitions, for example, 1 hour partitions or single layer wall gypsum board partitions. And then your type selector file will have this whole collection that you can just grab the types and paste them into your project. But grabbing system families from other practices or other projects might not be a good idea. You can always,
from that AutoCAD cloud that you had, the Load Autodesk family, those have been vetted? Or
so those are generic families that have a predefined, a very simple list of parameters. And as a way of learning Revit and as a way to like creating basic documentation, you can use that. But I would hope that your own firm has already a list of components that they can pull information from. A very example is doors, right? Each firm has subtle variations in which the door schedules are presented and scheduled or built inside the family editor. Revit has a default single panel door that you can use with basic parameters, but they may not have the right information to schedule it correctly with your schedules. And so always think about that when you bring an element. So before you bring an element, ask yourself, is this going to need to be scheduled? How much information it has, how much detail it has. Sometimes these components are created outside with a lot of geometry that impact the performance of Revit, or it serves a different purpose. A lot of the content, for example, coming from manufacturers has a level of detail that is just too much, and it has a degree of parameter and formulas that add no value to your documentation. So all those families need to be validated before you load them into your project. And so there's this process of making sure that you ask questions, interrogate what this content needs to be in order to schedule correctly in your Revit project. There are probably policies in place that you need to follow, like maybe have your BIM manager or the BIM coordinator in the project review the content before it gets used. I'm going to talk more about that in the BIM management portion of the class, but I don't know if I respond to your question, Jim.
Pretty much, you have to render that stuff down to simplicity, I guess. If you get it from a manufacturer.
Correct. All right, so let's talk about phasing and design options. This, for my Power Revit users online, this is a review. So, and this is an old deck. I haven't updated in a long time. But the functionality has remained the same for over the years. Phasing is important for projects that stage over time. In particular, those are around renovation, tenant improvement, and historic preservation. So a phase defines a scope in the design that is staged over time. A phase, it's a global. There are global phasing in the project, and the default phases out of the box is an existing and a new construction. Now, depending on the mechanics of the project delivery, you can have multiple phases in a sequence. If you notice, the phasing start from phases in the past at the top and phases in the future at the bottom. And you can insert and create new phases in the phasing dialog box. I'm going to jump into Revit in a bit. So a phase is a global setting, but it's assigned on a view by view cases. So each view is associated with a phase. And so for tenant improvement projects, for example, you display a construction plan in the new construction because you want to show what's new. And then, but then next to the phase, there's another one that is called a phase filter. Let's see what all these concepts are. This is a different thing. Object phasing. Those are instance properties. Those properties are unique to an object. Every object in Revit, every geometrical object has two pieces of information associated with them. What phase this element, when in time this element was created, and when in time this element disappears. So most of the existing site elements to preserve, we're creating in an existing phase. And then if these elements are existing to remain, they don't get demolished. So in the list of phase demolished, you set that to none. Right? Some of these elements are going to disappear. They're going to get demolished. And so make sure that the instance properties of the demolished element also display in which phase the elements will be removed. So these are instance properties. Every object has these two parameters. And when we create demolition plans or existing plans or new construction tenant improvement plans, then we need to make sure that the objects that are existing to remain or existing to disappear, to be demolished, are correctly tagged or correctly labeled. Object phasing. Then we have, to make things a little complex to understand, each element has a status. And the status describes the condition of an element as a result of the phasing parameters. So an element that is existing was created in a previous phase. It was done in the it was provided by the as-built. These are things that typically appear in grayscale in technical documentation. Then you have new objects in a view, and these are our element status in a view. New elements are created in the current phase. So new construction is where most of the new elements take place. We have elements that will get demolished. So elements that were created in a previous phase, and then they are removed or demolished in the current phase. And then we have temporary objects, which are objects created during construction to protect individuals or to protect access to the tenant improvement site. And a temporary object is an object that was created in the current phase and is also demolished in the current phase. Very rarely we display temporary objects, but sometimes to display coordination with in pre-construction activities, a designer may be asked to provide temporary protection in the construction site. But the ones we use the most is existing objects created in previous phases, new objects, and demolished objects. So very quickly recap where we're at. A phase is a global parameter. It's a sequence of scope of work stage over time. Object phase are properties of every object, indicate when an object is created and when it's demolished. The combination of these parameters give me the element status. Existing to remain, it's an existing object. A new object was created in the current phase. An object that is existing, but it demolished in the current phase, it's demolished, and then temporary is created in the current phase and demolished in the current phase. Any questions so far? Well, here's where it gets a little hairy, but it's not, trust me. According to the status of an object, which is this 4 statuses, then you can apply phase graphic overrides. A phase graphic overrides assign projection and a cut pattern override to elements according to the status. So existing objects to remain will appear as a gray line, and a thick gray line when it's cut by the cut plane. You can even associate materials to the phase status. Demolish elements, which are objects created in the previous phase, but they're going to demolish in the current phase. Then they get this dash line override. You can modify the gray line and the line type associated with the phasing if you think that it's too light, or it needs to be a little bolder, or it needs to be gray, a different type of gray. If you're not happy with the overrides, you can modify it at a template level and make it accessible to all the users. New objects, you can also apply a graphic override. Although I have to say that new objects are usually displayed by category. And what that means is that we usually ignore the graphic override of the new objects in favor of the way they get represented in object styles. And then we have a temporary override, which is this blue dot line. You can apply surface pattern or cut patterns as needed. So the graphic override, this is a global setting that apply projection and cut patterns and materials to objects of different statuses. Any question here? All right,
So
and yes.
So that's global. When you set that, that's for the whole project. It's not specific to each view. You just set that in one place.
Correct. It's a global setting associated with the status of each of the elements. And then to make it view specific, to kick this graphic overrides in a view, we use something called a phase filter. And a phase filter is like it's a property of the view, and it's a map of visibility options applied to objects according to their status. So we have a tabular display of columns representing the different statuses: new, existing, demolished, temporary. These are the statuses. And then a map of visibility properties applied to the different objects. For example, show complete, which is show all is gray. That means that a view has to have at least the default filter show all, and it's gray. That means that you can delete row number 2 to 7 using this delete button, but the default one, which says show all, it's always there. You can remove it. Revit comes with 7 phase filters out of the box. Sometimes you have to create and add new filters as needed, but you decide how the different statuses get displayed in a view. And there are 3 choices. By category means that elements that appear as new in the view will inherit the graphic properties of object styles. And object styles are the global, your Revit users, object styles is the global settings of Revit. It's how the default line weight of the objects. That's by category. Overreading means apply the phasing graphic overrides. This is like a switch. You want to display by category according to object styles, or do you want to override it based on the phasing graphic overrides? And then the third option is not to show at all. So let's look at some examples. One of the ones we use a lot for new construction in tenant improvement projects is the row number 6, which is show previous and new. So what that means is show me all the previous elements, all the existing elements created in previous phases, and display all the new elements added in the active phase. And so for that filter, new elements are going to be displayed by category according to object styles. Existing elements that were built before the current phase, they're going to be overridden. What that means is according to this table. This table is going to kick in whenever you apply the overridden option. And then not display, meaning that it's not going to switch off from the view, the demolished objects. And then if there's any temporary object, also apply the graphic override. So that's what a filter means. And so in these are the global settings of the graphic overrides. And the filter, it's a way to choose how to display the different statuses of the elements according to settings by category, settings overrides, or switch off it altogether. Any question here?
Yes. Could you talk a little bit about whether demolition is actually a phase or not?
Good, absolutely good question. So demolished elements are statuses of an object. And what that means is that they will have a specific graphic override in the views. And demolished objects are not typically defined as a phase. It's what defines a phase is when something appears and when something disappears. But that demolition can happen across all different phases. And so demolition should not be considered initial phase. So when we are creating our list of phases, we focus on the scope of work for each of those phases. But then the demolition associated with a certain scope, it's the result of graphic overrides and filters applied to the view. And I'm going to show that in a Revit, in the Revit context in a little bit. All right, let's look at a little graphic. Maybe this help clarify all these concepts. You receive an as-built project, and these as-built projects document the existing condition of a building. And so when you receive this from a consultant or from the owner, chances are that there are no phases, right? And so everything that it's on the screen or in a view are existing objects. And so when you open an existing conditions or an as-built, they may have a filter called show new, so they're going to show as a gray poche with dark lines. Say this is a tunnel, and you're going to do this in 2 phases. When you create a construction plan of your phase 1, you may want to show the following filters. You want to show everything that was built before phase 1 and that is scheduled to remain. So that's all the previous objects, plus the new objects. And the new objects are elements in the floor plan representing according to object styles. So you remember in that filter, we have an override by different, the overrides for different statuses. So the previous elements show grayed out according to the graphic overrides. Elements to remove will appear as dash, those are demolition elements. Temporary construction, which are symbols that, for example, this is a protection cover for the tunnel during construction, then they would appear as dashed blue lines according to the filters, and then new objects will appear in phase one. So right at the bottom, everything that is green was new construction on their specific phase, and everything that is red are elements, existing elements to remain. And then let's say you do this, there's a phase number two. When phase two kicks in, everything that was built in the existing phase and in phase one is considered existing elements to remain. So show previous and new means show me the previous elements to remain and the new geometry. And the filter apply a graphic override based on the element status. Demolished elements get a grayscale line weight. And the new addition, the new elements are displayed using the object style override. And so, and that's how phases work. And so when the whole project is completed and the owner asks you for an as-built, for example, that has displayed everything as it was a single phase, then you can apply a phase filter that is called show complete. And show complete applies a graphic override to elements belonging to different statuses. So everything is displayed by the object styles. And so that's why, when it comes to assemble and as built to the owner, some firms display a view that it's with a filter called show complete, which doesn't apply any override to the element statuses. Any question here? Does this make sense? I think graphically, so I'm trying to simplify the explanation of what it means, the different filters. All right, so I'm looking at the clock and it's 7:15, 7:17. I don't think I'm going to be able to jump into Revit, but this PDF, it's available to you as a PDF. This PowerPoint is available to you as a PDF. Let me explain what we're going to do next class. So we have an as-built file that represents an office layout received by the owner, from the owner. And then we're going to do a tenant improvement retrofit in two phases, phase one and phase two. But for phase two, we're going to have displayed two different layouts of potential furniture arrangements. And so we're going to combine phasing and design options in a single view. So these are in Revit 2022. When you open this file in Revit, it will, for those who are using Revit 2023, you're going to receive a warning that is the model is getting upgraded, and that's fine. Just wait for the file to be loaded and save it. And when you save it, it's going to save it in 2023. I just save it here. So this is an existing building with an office layout. And just to explain what we're going to do next class, this is going to be staged in two phases. This whole thing is going to be phase one, and then this here is going to be phase two, and then we're going to create a existing conditions plan, a demolition plan, phase one construction plan, phase 2 demolition plan, phase 2 construction plan option 1, phase 2 option 2, design option 2. Then we're going to create a little packaging sheets and apply design options to the different views. So it's a very simple exercise, but it also going to show us how design options work and the nuances of working with rooms in tenant improvement projects, some workarounds, and some best practices. So if you want for next class, just upgrade all these files. If you have Revit 2023, just open those files and save them. Notice that when Revit upgrades, then it creates all these backup folders. So these are files with numerical extensions. This is the closest thing to autosave that Revit has. Revit does not have autosave, but every time you save a file, this file by default, there's a default setting that keeps up to 3 incremental backups. And so Revit starts creating copies of that file up to that point of saving and start accumulating one after the other one. These files are annoying. And notice that every time you hit the save command, it's going to start creating a numerical backup. And so at the end of the day, you really just want to focus on your file, and then the backups can be safely deleted. Like there's no reason to have all this number of backups on the folder. So as a homework, you just open each of the files and save it, and then we're going to set up faces, associate elements with different faces, apply graphic overrides, and put in practice everything we look at in this PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm going to end the class, the lecture part of the class here. If you want to stay because you have questions, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, I'll see you Thursday, same time, 5:30. And we'll go deeper into this concept. So, all right, guys. Have if you're not sticking around, have a great evening. And
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Cesar.
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So for phasing, if we like say for the same project, there's going to be 2 phases. One is like construct part A, and then the next phase is going to be constructing part B. Is that going to all these phases are going to be in the same file? Is that the case?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But here's the thing: you have, if a project is staged in multiple phases, and but there's going to be a lot of time in between the phases. Let's say you create a Revit, you create a phase now in Revit, let's say Revit 2020, and then the next phase is going to be in 2-3 years in Revit 2023. Sometimes it's a good idea to merge phases into a single as-built file, and what?
Okay.
And that's called merging phases. You know, you can merge phases and make it all a single phase.
Mm-hmm.
But you can leave it a stage if the stage is happening within a reasonable time, and it's like this is a fast-paced stage project. Then yes, you want to maintain the phases as needed. But if, for example, if you receive a file from, let's say, a designer who did this project 5 years ago, and they did it in phases, the phases they use are no longer relevant for you and your team. And so the best
Yes.
thing to do is to merge all those phases into existing and use this as a new as built with everything that's built as an existing file. And then,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but just in case, like if clients have in mind, you know, like stuff are going to be in phases, then we probably want to produce drawings that is kind of have a timeline. Like this is going to be phase 1, and the next is going to be phase 2, and then in that case, whatever is built in phase 1 is going to be considered as built in phase 2. So
exactly,
like
yeah.
how do those parameters change? You know, like throughout the whole project. That's my question.
We will jump into it next class, but it's
Okay.
all about the filters.
Okay. All right. Okay.
All about the filters. So
Yeah. Okay.
We'll look at it.
Yeah, that's my question. Thank you.
No problem. Any other question, guys?
Oh, I have a question. We have a project that's, you know, has demo, it's an existing building. And in the 3D, if I have a 3D view, I have certain color setups. And that's not, how is that manipulated to show existing versus demo versus new? That's not, it's not the same phase filter thing that you showed us today, is it?
It is. In fact,
okay.
let me I'm gonna very quickly open this file.
Okay.
Here, just to answer your question.
I mean, ours is set up the way I like it, but I'm just wondering, you know, it's before my time, so.
Sorry, guys, you're still with me, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let me share this here. Okay, so the phasing graphic overrides apply not only overrides in projection view, but also materials in 3D. I'll show you here. This is where we're gonna end the project next time.
Right, I see, yeah.
These are, this is a demolition plan in a 3D view that applies this green transparent color is driven by the phasing override. So in the graphic overrides, the Moller element has a phase demo material that it displays when you look at things in 3D.
Oh, okay.
And that appearance had this red shaded override.
Okay,
that you can selectively apply in a 3D or not.
Oh, that's a whole world that I haven't walked into. All right.
Yeah. It's not very common, but you know, in discussions with the owner or for the contractor to display this kind of 3D views, it make it more obvious for coordination. You may choose to not show any material, just leave this empty. In that case, it's gonna the only thing that are gonna be applied are the projection overrides, but you have the choice to use materials. This view, for example, if I look at the phase filter showing previous and new, and so previous elements to remain are the existing elements that have this green override. So everything that is green is existing to remain. And then the new elements are all these objects that acquire graphic properties of object styles. And so object styles is driving the visibility override of these elements.
And Cesar, those materials are in the out of the box material library, isn't that so?
Yes, but I think when you create a new project out of the box, this material is empty. I included this in this exercise to reinforce.
Yes, but my
the
question,
learning
aren't they in the material library though?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, these 4 things are in the material library. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That sounds great.
Yeah. You don't have to use the materials. They can be changed as needed. I mean, you can leave them all grayed out, like a very light grayed out. But this, and then schedules can also be made phase specific and design option specific. Like this is a schedule of the demolition cost of the walls. And this is all based on phase filter applied to the schedule. So we're going to do that next class as well. All right. Hopefully that answered the question. I don't know if Sam or Lindsay or Aline has an additional question.
No, sounds good. Yeah.
No,
All
Awesome.
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
All right, guys.
Bye.
See you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. Good night. Thank you.